Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. Welcome to Tactical Look, where we're going to take an in-depth look at Brentford, their new system under Keith Andrews. We're going to take a look at how they're set up against Nottingham Forest. We're going to take a look at some images from that, main tactical parts that we can dissect from his system. We're going to predict the Villa lineup. Then we're going to mash the two teams together and have a look at the areas that Aston Villa can exploit and the areas that we are going to have to make sure that we are on it away at Brentford. Earl, you're the first guest on Tactical Look, so how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, feeling good. Good to be back on the pod. Good for Villa to be back. Not exactly back with a bang, but we're back.
No.
So,
We're back in some capacity. Right,
yeah.
so we're going to kick it off then. We'll start off with just taking a look at what we can see from Keith Andrews' new system, because you can look at certain elements. I've watched a lot of his pre-season mic'd up and you get an understanding of what he's like. But in the Premier League, I was really intrigued to see what his system would look like. And I'm going to put a little bit of a caveat in there now that I do believe that what we saw from Brentford on Sunday, we won't see similarities at home against Aston Villa, because they were pretty woeful at times. So I think they'll bring in new personnel, but we'll get into that in a second then. So they're lined up in a 4-2-3-1, and Jensen and Yarmulke were the two that were sitting narrow for Brentford. Rico Henry had license to get forward. He was the outlet for them on that left-hand side. Carvalho, I think he's more of like a central midfielder, or sort of like a number 10 from what I've thought I saw from him before. So he's slightly inverted, which meant Henry could go forward. We saw them make up a back three. Kayode was very present in that game. He got up and down a little bit, but he was more sort of like sitting and holding. And then they started to have few problems with their forward line that just wasn't creative. It wasn't fluid. It looked disconnected. The striker, Thiago, was really isolated on his own up against Murillo and Milenkovic. New signing Malambo really struggled to get in the game. Lewis Potter is a player that I like. He works hard and he's present within a first 11, but again, it really lacked quality. And one of the things that I noticed was this real disconnect with their midfield too at times. It just wasn't, it was exposed, and Nottingham Forest literally ran straight through it. So what did you make of watching Brentford? I know you watched it because we was talking to each other all through the game. So what did you make of them?
Yeah, it was a difficult start for them, wasn't it? Away at Forest. I don't think they went into the game expecting for Forest to press the way they did. I think they definitely struggled with that pressure. The defenders passing out. I think the midfield got overwhelmed, and like you say, there was no real link between the defense and the attack. The striker was quite isolated.
And I think we can kind of see this now from their passing network throughout the game, is that the forward line is disjointed. You've got Rico Henry, who's gone forward on that left-hand side. The gap between the midfield two is quite large, and I think there was a lot of space in and around that. And then we can see on the right-hand side that there's a real sort of disconnect with any network through there, no network through there, and they really struggled to progress up the football pitch. And I want to just get your thoughts on the actual Brentford system then, because when I look at it, and I think we can see this through the average positions on this image especially, do you think they're trying to set up as a back three that is a back five with Potter as a right-sided wing back? Or do you think they were set up to be a little bit hybrid, where a little bit like Villa, a right back stays at home, left back goes forward? What do you think they were trying to do? Because I kind of struggled to understand what they're trying to, what they were. And I think, from watching them, it looked a bit confusing.
Yeah, that was my answer, to be honest. I struggled to kind of understand what they were trying to do, to be honest. With Lewis Potter, I wasn't sure whether he was kind of told to stay or whether it's just that's how he naturally is, because he is a bit more of a wing back, isn't he, rather than a winger? So is that just naturally where he drifted into, or is that where he's told to be? Like you mentioned before, I do expect it to be quite a bit different when we go over to Brentford, just because the attacking players, I think, will be very different. They brought on Sharda for the second half, and it was quite different to how Carvalho plays. Like you say, Carvalho was coming inside, whereas Sharda's more of your traditional winger, inside forward kind of player. Damsgaard coming back, I think, will have an impact as well. And they've just signed Dango from Bournemouth as well, who's more of a winger. So again, I'm not expecting them to be as deep, not expecting them to be as central as they were. But yeah, very, very confused, like you say, from that first game.
What did you make of this, Earl? What did you make of the hybrid number 9 dropping into the back four? What did you make of this first half?
Yeah, it was a really strange one. Obviously, they were under the cosh, to be honest, from Forest. They must have had a string of set pieces and whatnot, and the big striker Thiago just dropped back into that in that defensive line to defend the set pieces, and just never went back up top.
No.
Yeah, you could see his players were telling him to get forward, but he wanted to stick in at centre back. So I don't know if I was having a bit of a Dion Dublin, wanted to change his position, or I don't know, but it was definitely a strange one. They were literally urging him to get forward and wasn't having it.
So a couple of areas that I've highlighted within sort of looking and breaking down was especially for the third goal. And I think one of the main problems is we can look here now and we're at the centre of the pitch and there's not one single Brentford player. They've been bypassed, they're out of position, a real lack of cohesion within the whole makeup of the team. But I think one area that we've got to make sure that we are aware of is the long throw threat. They were very, very direct on set pieces, weren't they? Long throws, Collins peeling off a lot, trying to get near post flick-ons to a back post, etc. So I think this was probably one of their strongest areas during the game, and I think we've got to make sure we are fully aware of this threat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the identity of Brentford, really. I mean, you can talk about a new manager and this sort of thing, but when you think of Brentford, but I think of set pieces, corners, free kicks, and then they even treat the long throw-ins as a set piece. You'll see the centre backs going forward, and it's something that they've done for years. I know Keith Andrews was the set piece coach at Brentford before taking on the main role, so I'm sure it's something that he'll pay a lot of attention to, and yeah, absolutely something that Villa will have to be aware of.
Definitely. So let's touch on Villa predicting the lineup then before we get into having a look at where the major key battles are. Tough question, Earl. And normally, this is very easy. Emi Martinez. Bezo or Martinez? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not something we're used to, but I guess it's a nice question to have for once. Between Martinez and your second choice goalkeeper, but yeah, I think for me, Bezo was impressed during pre-season. I was quite happy with how he played, and then obviously he had man of the match on debut for Villa at home against Newcastle. So I don't see any reason why he should move out of the side, to be honest. So I'm going to start with Bezo. I'm not going to be upset if Martinez starts, obviously. So you can take your pick in the comments.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of people will probably want Martinez straight back in there. But for me, I think I look at this goalkeeper number 2 situation, and I think Bezo's going to get a lot of minutes for Villa this season. I see him getting a lot of Europa League minutes, and I feel like he started well. He started with a clean sheet, and that can't be overlooked. And it was a solid performance. Was his kicking the greatest? It probably wasn't. He had around 50%, but it was good enough. And I think it's very difficult for a goalkeeper to come straight in and do what Emery wants, because it's so intense, it's so in depth, and I really don't want to just sort of let him do well for a game and go, right, you're done now, Martinez straight back in. And then when we rely on Bezo again, he might be a bit cold. He might not be in form. He might not be as confident as this. So I think while he's still peak confidence, I think he should play. And I think I stick by that. And I think for Martinez, what I will say is that for Emery, he's got a big decision, Emery. And I do think it might say a lot about what's gone on this summer with Martinez looking like he was going to leave. I think we might see, if Bezo starts, I think it says a lot about what Emery thinks of Bezo. And probably Martinez in this situation as well. But for me, I'm going Bezo. I mean, do you want to add anything on that, or?
No, yeah, I agree, to be honest. I think, you know, he had the shirt in the first game, like you say, man of the match. He's done nothing to lose it, in my opinion. So, you know,
but I think that's what we want from players as well, though. You know,
yeah.
like whether it's Luke Dean or Maatsen, like if Maatsen comes on or impresses and plays really well, then he kind of deserves to play, etc. And I think I do believe that if we do put Martinez back in, I do kind of believe it does send a bit of a weird, wrong message, really, that I'll have you when he's not available, and then he's straight back in, and then that's it. So we want healthy competition. So, and I think Martinez needs it, because he wasn't the greatest last year anyway. So the fact that Bezo's come in and now Martinez might be thinking, I've got to really up my game to play for Villa now, it's a good problem to have, really. It's not a negative or a downer on anyone, but I think for me, I want to see Bezo start. So I'll go with what I think for the defense then, and then you can let me know if you completely disagree. But I'm going to stick with Cash. I thought Cash was good defensively against Newcastle. Then I am going to go with Tyrone Mings. I think for the threat that Brentford hold with those long throws, those direct corners, there, Collins, he's really good in the box. I think Mings is needed for this game. I'm going to keep putting him in until he plays. So I want Maatsen to play for Villa, so I'm putting Maatsen in there. And I also think that this is going to allow us to put somebody else in the double pivot. Where's the player that I need? Where's Kamara gone? Right, Kamara for me. Earl, are you with me on Kamara, or do you think it's going to be Bogard?
I think Kamara. Obviously, after the red card against Newcastle, he stepped in and was had a good game, didn't he? At centre half. So yeah, I don't see why not. It's maybe a bit tough on Bogard, but I think Kamara's got to play, hasn't he? And maybe a bit spoiler alert for the midfield, it allows us to put Onana in as well.
Yeah, because I think this allows Onana to kind of still be in there, which I think physicality, good. I think he played pretty well against Newcastle. I think sitting in front maybe is I don't want to say more comfortable, but I think he was kind of maybe over forcing things against Newcastle. A couple of passes that he forced it, and I think Tielemans just gets on it and just rolls it and plays it, and so I think that's what I think we probably might go with, and I think what it will also allow is that Kamara's still going to be very good on the ball from deep as well, which, he's got those little lofted passes that he can play forward. So I do think he will go with Kamara in there. I think it's probably a bit more trusted, but if he goes with Bogard, then again, a little bit like the goalkeeper situation, it says a lot. It says how he's feeling about that situation as well. So midfield then, either side, left and right, what are you going with?
On the left, I'm going to say McGinn.
Yeah.
Away from home, he's the captain. You want him to play. I think I prefer him on the left compared to the right. I think
definitely.
I think it suits him being left-footed. I guess I think on the right he's always having to turn backwards and come back onto his left foot. He doesn't really want to go onto his right too often. And I think when he's on the left, he's a lot more forward-thinking. So I got McGinn on the left. And then on the right, I'm going to go with Marlon. Yeah, I think we needed a bit more attacking threat against Newcastle. I think we were really missing that. So I've got Marlon in there, a bit more pace. Hopefully, he can hold a bit of the width and don't have to ask too much of Matty Cash. And at the end of the day, what does he have to do to get a start? To be honest, I think he's due one, isn't he? So
yeah,
Marlon's in there for me.
Yeah, I think this has got good balance, but I just think it's got more pace, it's got more outlet, it's got more about it going forward. And I mean, if you're looking at general makeup of how this could potentially look, you've got Rodgers in the 10 central, which is what we like. He can drop at times, make up a bit of a 3 in there. Marlon can go through there. Cash could advance. Onana, a bit of protection. McGinn can get in there and help out with that midfield if it's needed. And you've got 3 in there up against the Brentford 2. Maatsen with his pace out wide, attacking both of their fullbacks. I think that both can be got at. So I think this Villa system is good, and I kind of want to see Emery just approach it with a bit more vigor going forward. I think, we've spoke about a lot, especially on the match preview, about how Villa were last season a little bit safe, cautious, too much control. I think that allows us to just be a bit more expressive. So I've merged the two together. So we've now got Brentford with a couple of changes. The changes that I think they might make is that I think Henderson will come back in. I think they'll look to get him on the ball a little bit more, look to take the ball off the centre halves, try and get on it and just pop it around them, try and have a bit more control. Sharda on the left, I think he might come back in. Damsgaard, who was missing because his partner had a baby. And I think that's the general makeup of what I expect their team to look at. And like what I mentioned earlier, I think when you look at Henderson and Yarmulke in the middle, again, if we can get players that are in and around it, McGinn ratting around that midfield, we've got Rodgers that can try and play in behind their midfield too as well, try and get in that little bit of a pocket. Like we've mentioned, try and pin Henry back, try and pin Coyote back, get Potter in there as well, and just Villa's system look a lot stronger. And I think they will be better than what they were at the weekend because they've got better players back. Damsgaard's one of their best players, and I think those are the areas for me. If it's not Sharda, they could put Ataria in there who will have pace as well. I think with the striker, I think these two will be able to occupy him a little bit more as well. So I think for me, that's my general vibe. It's about Villa taking the game to them, pushing them back, having control of this game. So looking at that, Earl, is there anything that jumps out at you for Villa to attack or for Villa to be cautious of?
Yeah, I mean, well, starting from back to front, I think it's a Mings game. They've got a big physical striker, so I'd have Mings in there, and we've talked about the set pieces before as well. With Onana helps with that as well. Tielemans definitely preferring back in that deeper role. I think You know, he was the player of the season for Villa last year. You know, our best player last season, so we want him on the ball. And I think in that 10 position, he just struggled to get it to him as much as we would have liked. I think Rodgers will be a big key in this game as well. I like him centrally in this game. You know, against the likes of Henderson, Yarmouk, Jensen, if he's in there, don't think they've got the physicality or the pace to deal with Rodgers in those central areas. So I think him, you know, picking up the ball and running past that midfield. You know, we saw against Forest how kind of leaky that midfield was, and like you said before, Forest were just going straight through the middle of them at times. So that's where I'd want Rodgers in this game. And then Donyell Marlin as well, like I mentioned before, we need that extra attacking threat. We need the runners in behind to open things up and the goal threat as well. We saw Henry for them getting up and down. You know, if he's got Marlon to think about, could potentially push him back as well and help out Cash on that side. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic going into this game. Hopefully we can get the 3 points.
Hopefully. Well, hopefully, Villa fans, you've enjoyed this episode from me and Earl taking a tactical look at both teams. Let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and up the Villa.